Now, Act 3, Scene 6, we've skipped what's called Act 3, Scene 5 because, and pretty much everyone's agreed Shakespeare didn't write it, so it's never really thought of as part of the play. In Act 3, Scene 6, a lot of people miss this scene, don't really pay attention to it, but there is quite a bit in here that's worth paying attention to it. We have Lennox, who we've met a number of times before, who serves as a kind of a bastion of loyalty, whose loyalty to the king is now wavering very much, and another lord, so somewhat of importance, but it doesn't need another name. And what basically we get is coming into a conversation that has a bit like Macbeth with the murderers earlier has already taken place. My former speeches have hit your thoughts, we can interpret further. And what we really get here is we get kind of like the almost official version of events. Okay? Duncan was killed by Malcolm and Donalbain. Banquo was killed by Fleance. That's what we're getting. Okay? That's what people are told to believe. But they're not believing it. Lennox does this essentially through a slightly kind of disbelieving, almost, although I'll be careful of using it, sarcastic tone. Right? In saying certain things that suggest he doesn't believe it. First of all, notice that he refers to these two people as the gracious Duncan and the right valiant Banquo, using again these epithets to show that these two people who died are the good people. Okay? They're the good people. Now, on the other hand, he points out that there's a connection between being pitied of Macbeth and becoming dead here. And that suggestion goes on into the idea of Banquo walking too late. Right? Again, throwing in the ideas of if it please you, suggesting that his suspense, he doesn't really necessarily believe it. Okay? How monstrous, who cannot want the thought how monstrous it was for Malcolm and for Donalbain to kill their gracious father. Again, notice that turning there. Damned fact. Pointing out that it seems strange how monstrous that is for them to do this. And how didn't it grieve Macbeth, he says. Again, slightly, I suppose you can use sarcastic here in an idea. Wasn't he upset? So upset that he killed the two people, the two delinquents who had actually supposedly done it. Again, suggesting the general suspicion that people around the court feel. And carries on thinking down here, isn't it nobly done? Because it would have angered anybody to hear the men deny it. So to stop these men from actually saying what they've got to say. I say he's borne all things well. Again, another kind of sarcastic approach. And I think if he had Duncan's sons under his key, they should find what it was to kill a father. Again, suggesting that maybe he has some unpleasant things that he would like to do to Malcolm and Donalbain. But once again, he drops in, as it pleases heaven he shall not. So again, showing that he doesn't really believe that he's again on the side of Malcolm and Donalbain. And thank God he hasn't got them. And then mentions how Macduff lives in disgrace. The Lord then comes on and points out how Macduff is now in the English court. Okay, and we get a few little things here. Notice the mention of the English king, the most pious Edward, the holy king, along that. Okay, so the contrast of the English king against the Scottish king, Edward against Macbeth, pious and holy compared to, obviously, a murderer. And essentially the idea that the Lord, who is not being sarcastic at all about it, is essentially saying he's ready for war, and let's hope he comes and does so. Has he sent for Macduff? Yes. The king, has he sent for Macduff? Yes. And Macduff says no. And Lennox says he wants to be careful about this. Okay. there could be some awful things going, right? And the Lord says, I'll send my prayers to him. So what's the point really? It's essentially a representation of the views at court. The story is not believed anymore.